There's a big old rumor going around that the 2022 Star Wars movie has been canceled.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Well, I know a little something about this, and I want to talk about everything I know and what I think will happen with that 2022 Star Wars movie. Buckle up, Star Wars fans. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Blast that like button with your Force Lightning, and let's get right into this video. So yes, this is a big rumor that is out there right now, and I think this rumor was really created in the wake of Star Wars Celebration canceling its event for this year and actually pushing it all the way back to 2022. And then on top of that, I saw Jon Campia in the Jon Campia Show cover this topic yesterday. Both he and his co-host at the time, Aaron, gave their takes on this, and I wanted to sort of talk about their takes and why I actually disagree with them. So you can, of course, go watch the clipped video. It's only about like 5 minutes of their actual take from the show yesterday if you want the full context. But the TLDR on what they essentially said was that there's really no reason to believe that the film will be canceled and that 2022 date is still a long ways out, and they will probably have a movie in that date. Jon sort of opens with that information, and then Aaron sort of mirrors that take. She's like, yeah, no, I agree. There's no reason to think that it will be canceled. And I absolutely disagree. I think there are actually several reasons that I think this movie will be canceled, or more than likely just delayed. Like, the movie itself's not going to be canceled, but even that's a little bit complex. So now let's talk about the biggest reason, and that is that they were unable to sign the big name that they were looking to sign to do the next series of movies and to do the 2022 movie. That was supposed to be announced in January. And it's like, I know 2020 has been an absolute crazy, just ridiculous year, and we can all lose track of all sorts of different things, but it was actually reported by The Hollywood Reporter late last year that Kathleen Kennedy had a director for the 2022 movie, and she was going to make a big announcement in January. That was ran in The Hollywood Reporter, and basically, I know that like the whole thing between the studios and the trades is kind of weird, but essentially The Hollywood Reporter would not have ran that if Lucasfilm didn't know they were going to run that, and if it wasn't true, if it was totally factually incorrect, Disney would have been like, hey, don't run that. That's absolutely not correct. And so we believe that absolutely Kathy Kennedy was going to make an announcement in January with this big name. So that's what's out there in print and in reports. And what I can't prove to you, but I know for a fact because I spoke to very reliable sources about this, is the fact that name, man, there were some big names on the table, and they couldn't sign any one of them. And I also know that the February 4th investor call from Disney to their shareholders, that call was really awkward for Bob Iger because he actually really wanted to make the announcement that was supposed to be made in January on that February 4th investor call, but they couldn't make that announcement because they couldn't sign the name. I also know that there was a literal meeting at Kathleen Kennedy's house where she took a bunch of people from Lucasfilm to her house to try to sort all of this out and figure out the future, and that meeting did not go well. And when you think back to late last year, the fact that they were lined up, that this name was going to be signed, it was going to be a big freaking deal, and then it all falls apart. Well, what's the only thing that really changed from the time that negotiation began to when it fell apart? Well, it's really just all the perception and the reception of The Rise of Skywalker. So I think a little bit had to do with the fan base and just how divided things were, and the weird state of social media when it comes to the Star Wars brand. And then, of course, the movie was hit very hard by critics. It is the worst reviewed Rotten Tomatoes score Star Wars movie ever, and it was just not a good look. And so I think Rise of Skywalker actually had a lot to do with why this big name did not sign with Lucasfilm. And even though I don't think it's quite as dire as some of the other channels here on YouTube would have you believe, there are definitely internal struggles going on at Lucasfilm even to this day. It's not all crazy. Like, this is pretty normal studio stuff, but I think Star Wars is in a unique position because they are trending downwards. They have a really divided fan base, and the perception of the fan base and the brand is, I don't want to say at an all-time low, but it's definitely not in a good place. And so that's a really rough thing. I also know that Kevin Feige has actually already been advising people at Star Wars. He has already affected certain decisions that are made over at Lucasfilm, and I'm actually not at liberty to talk any more about that. But I say all of that to tell you that there's a lot of possible reasons as to why the 2022 movie would be moved or canceled, and all of the stuff I just described actually is all predating when the entire world completely fell apart. And so you can add the delays in production, in the ability to do meetings, in the ability to sign deals, like all of these different things that happen because of the shutdown. Those are also reasons as to why this movie could be canceled or delayed. And so when John and Aaron say there are no reasons, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. There are actually plenty of reasons that this might happen. On top of all of that, another big piece of evidence to suggest that this movie might move all has to do with the May the 4th announcement. On May the 4th, it was announced that Taika Waititi will be directing and co-writing a Star Wars movie. But what's really weird is they didn't even announce that that would be the 2022 movie. Now, I don't know why that is, but essentially they just wanted a big headline and a good get on May the 4th. And I get it, and that's cool. But the thing is, there's a lot of questions still in play, and even that announcement was actually not universally loved by Star Wars fans, just kind of showing again that the Star Wars fandom is in a weird place. So there's plenty of reasons as to why that movie would move or be delayed. But that's everything that's documented and everything that I heard from official sources that I feel comfortable kind of saying like for sure that this stuff is what's going on. Now I just want to purely speculate. So again, beginning part of the video, official stuff and some stuff that you can call rumor because, you know, it's just my sort of sources that I'm not going to reveal, right? And now I want to clearly get into speculation. So here's what I think is actually going on. I do believe Kathleen Kennedy is going to step down 2021 when her contract is over, and I am pretty sure she is actually in the process of sort of passing the baton to Jon Favreau, to Dave Filoni, and to Kevin Feige. But what I think is actually happening is Dave Filoni is going to sort of be in charge of live action over on Disney Plus, and Jon Favreau, with a lot of help from Kevin Feige, which, you know, you could call it an advisory role or whatever you want to call it. I believe that those two gentlemen will mostly oversee the live action movie stuff. Okay, so that's what I think Lucasfilm's plan actually is. And when Kathy does end up stepping down, which will, I think, coincide pretty close to D23 next year, where I think we'll get a lot of announcements about the future of Star Wars, I think that's what's sort of being put in place behind the scenes. Now, where I get confused with the 2022 movie is I do know that those series of movies, those were going to be the Dan and Dave movies. That's not even questionable. Bob Iger literally said that on an investors call. So we know for sure that the series of movies with Dan and Dave were going to start in 2022. That's what those three movies and maybe even more were going to be. We also know, although not confirmed by any big trades, but reported by a lot of reliable sources, that the Dan and Dave series of movies was going to take place in the High Republic, and the connective tissue with the High Republic movies and the High Republic stuff that we're going to be getting, I think, early next year at this point, because that was delayed as well with the Project Luminous books, comics, and all that. I believe there was going to be a lot of connective tissue between all of that. What I can't figure out in my head is whether or not Lucasfilm is still moving ahead with that plan, and they are going to give that 2022 movie in the High Republic to Taika Waititi, or are they backing off of that High Republic move because that is potentially another reason it was difficult to sign the big talent they're going for. Because if you already have a plan, and a plan that was created by the Game of Thrones guys, when you bring in a huge person, a huge brand, it's just that they don't want to take someone else's baby and then bring it to life. They want to create their own baby. And so there is a possibility that the movie that was going to come out in 2022 will never come out ever, okay? Because we know so little about what their actual plans were for that movie. So if the Taika movie comes in 2022 and it has nothing to do with the High Republic, then was the 2022 movie, the original one, canceled? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe not. Depends on where you're standing. I also think that in general, no matter what, the movie could be moved to 2023 or 2024. Now, let me just finish off by saying this. I actually believe that whatever scenario actually ends up happening here, it's going to be good for Star Wars fans. If the 2022 movie does not happen, it will be because they have other plans or because the plans that they do have are just not finished. They're not ready for 2022. And that's the move, because Star Wars, at least the first phase of the Disney Star Wars, suffered from a lack of planning and forethought because Disney just sort of overpaid for Star Wars, which is a whole nother thing we can get into later, but they really needed to make money. The investors, the shareholders were like, we need to make money now. That's why they throw out Michael Arndt's plans and they get Kasdan on the script. JJ and Kasdan are rewriting the script on the set of The Force Awakens, and they're building the airplane while they're in the air. And look, Force Awakens is a miracle. It worked, but the rest of the trilogy really falls apart. And so I don't want that to happen again. I would much rather have the films delayed to 2024 if we have to, in order to have an actual plan and to execute it properly. But that's the news and my speculation. I want to know what you think about the 2022 movie and the future of Star Wars in general, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Daniel's Hot Topics. Yes, indeed, Vegeta asked Jocko if he could destroy Moro in the latest chapter of the Dragon Ball Super manga. So shout out to you, Daniel's Hot Topic. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, with which company did Dan and Dave sign a massive contract with? And this was a big reason as to why they did not do their Star Wars movies. That's right. What was the company that Dan and Dave signed that big contract with? Answer that question in the comment section below. If you absolutely need more nerdy content in your life, click or tap over there to watch some more of our videos, or come on by our live streaming channel where we live stream all the freaking time. And also, random shout out to Russell Wells for just being a real one and for answering all these nerd card questions correctly, and then I never pick him and I feel terrible about it because he's a real supporter of the channel. Shout out to you, Russell. Love you, brother. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.